Well, hello everybody and welcome back to my channel. Today we're using the Natasha Denona My Dream palette for this look. And it's not a terribly complicated look, so I think a lot of people will really like this look. We are sans foundation for this look, but as you can tell, I've got some concealer on my lips, which I always do, and that makes for actually a nice base for lipstick. So we're gonna start out using the MAC Painterly Paint Pot, and I mixed it in with the e.l.f. primer, and I'm gonna use this to neutralize my eyes and neutralize any redness or anything on there, and it makes for a really nice base. But if you know me, you know that I do like to follow this up with the e.l.f. silicone powder, which is, you're gonna be able to see it's so finely milled that it literally like clouds up. You can see it like clouds up there a little bit. It's super, super fine. And it makes for a really nice base, and it's gonna absorb any moisture and be a really good base for powders. And so we're gonna start out doing a brow tutorial using this Wayne Goss Eyebrow 21 brush. This is a long brush and it's very dense and it makes it ideal for brows. So we're gonna use the Viseart Brow and Eyeshadow palette, and as you can see, I'm brow challenged. I have about 27 hairs. And so we're gonna really need to sculpt out some brows. And I make an upper and lower border. That's kind of how I start out with this. So there's the lower border. And then I kind of make an upper border there. And I'm gonna fill it in. Now this palette is wonderful. And I'm gonna use one of those cream shadows on the left column. I use usually the first two, and I mix it in. I dip the brush in one of those first two column shades, and then I usually use the first row to do the brows, but I do have red hair, so sometimes I dip into that middle row. So you definitely have to take your time with this, and sometimes it actually helps to have a shorter brush to do that arch and that tail, because the tail isn't usually going to be very long, so you don't want a long brush. Sometimes you got to play with it and see what works for you. And I generally make that lower border. I take that lower border and I go in on like a 45-degree angle, and then I connect the top with wherever I end, if that makes sense. So see what works for you. And I need to clean up anything with this. You can use concealer. I happen to use this quad. This is a old school, the Camo Quad from Coastal Scents, and I just really love the formula for this. It makes it really easy to clean that up. And I'm using a MAC 249 shader brush, which is just it's a synthetic flat shader brush. And you can see, I'm always giving my camera the side eye because at any moment it can go unfocused. So I'm cleaning everything up there, and I'm using this these lighter shades, which also function as a highlight. So I really like to do that. And I can just straighten everything out. And then sometimes I go on that, yep, right there, and I can clean that up too. And then you've got a really nice tail and a highlight, and you're all cleaned up and ready to go. And then you use the Brow Wiz. I believe this is medium brow, and I use that to fill in any gaps and give myself some hairs in the front. Ooh, we got a long one up there. And I'm gonna point that tail a little bit, and there we go. So we're gonna start with this Rockin' Republic 202 short shader. You can use any short shader for this. And we're gonna start out with Spontaneous, which is the lightest shade in the palette. And this, it really is a great palette because it's got the black, it's got the brown, it's got the nurture, which is a transition, and it's got a highlight. So not all of her palettes have that, so I can really appreciate this. And you can see there that shade, it's beautiful. Sometimes the sparkles from the highlight get on the brows, so I use the pencil to sort of counteract that. And then we're gonna go in with the Sonia G Crease 2. This is a nice fluffy long brush. And we're gonna go in with Nurture. And this is gonna be our transition shade. So we're just gonna do kind of some windshield wiper motions to get that in there. That is a lovely shade. For someone with my skin tone, this is really the perfect, this is one of the perfect transition shades. I really like this. It's cool, and as you will be able to see, it blends out beautifully. And I'm actually kind of blending that. As I'm blending it, I'm kind of blending it into the highlight a little bit. And I'm smoking this out. You do not have to smoke this out as much as I do. I just use as much real estate as humanly possible to really elongate my eyes, but you do not have to take it that far out. Okay, so now we're gonna go in with this. This is kind of a weird brush, the Urban Decay. It's called the finger brush. We're gonna use Aspiration, which is that really wonderful dark brown. And you know, this is a great look because this look is literally 90% of that Aspiration shade. That's what I'm using most of the time. So if you have any kind of dark, cool brown, you can do this look. You don't necessarily need this particular palette to do this look, but so you have options and you can tailor, you know, take from the video whatever tidbits you want. Now this would have been my first choice for a brush for this particular area, but sometimes I like a good challenge and I haven't used it in a really long time, but this is a really dense brush and you can be very precise, and you can see there I've got a really nice, you know, it really picked up the pigment beautifully, and I can really make the shape, and it's picking up that color. I mean, look at the pigment. That's beautiful. On that right eye, see right there, you can see, I mean, I was able to really sculpt out kind of that wing over there, that V on the outer corner. And so we're gonna go back in with that brush from Nurture, from that transition shade, and we're gonna blend everything. And you know, that's really when you can tell the quality of the palette, because it just blends out very simply. I mean, just look at that. Look at those colors blend. Magical, absolutely magical. It's all about the blend. Always adds 10% happiness to your day. And now I'm gonna go back in with that brush, and the places where I blend, sometimes you blend it too much and you wanna kind of add a little bit more depth. So I'm using that, what's left on that brush, to add a little bit more depth. I haven't really dipped into any new product. And sometimes you swing back and forth between blending and adding, blending and adding. I do have kind of a funky dry patch on that right eye, so it's not the fault of the shadow if it's kind of patchy. Now babies. So we're using the Carla Cosmetics Fix Potion, which, if you know me, I love this. I'd probably do one eye at a time, but I ended up doing both eyes at the same time because it can actually dry. It didn't end up being a problem, but if I were to, you know, doing this again, I would probably do one eye at a time. And we're gonna use the Sonia G Worker 2 to build that Babies on. Babies and Thrill, those are the most fun shadows, I think, of this palette. Those are the shadows that, I mean, look how beautiful that is. There's so much dimension, they're very shiny, and They've got a lot of sparkle to them. Thrill definitely has more sparkle. Babies might not have as much sparkle, but it definitely has that shiny impact that we love coming from Natasha Denona. And very easy to work with. Look at that. Look at that pigment. That pigmentation is incredible. And that, I feel like this is really a great universal shade. It just blends on so nicely. And that blends beautifully there. We just don't want any hard junctions. You could even stop here. I mean, this could in and of itself be a look. And I'm adding a little bit more. And then I'm blending. Always blending. And now we're going in with aspiration again, and I'm going to use this. This is just a very fine brush, the Sephora Triangle 41 Pro brush, and I'm just going right into the crease. See, I told you 95% of this look is that brown. And it really is a great brown. So I'm just defining that crease, adding a little bit of depth. This is a nice brush because it's so fine, you really can't go wrong. And I'm gonna go back in with the Nurture, and I'm gonna build that up a little bit and kind of marry that with the aspiration. So you can get a really nice gradient between those two browns. And now we're gonna go in with this Artiste brush. This is the Circle 1R. I am gonna end up starting, I'm gonna put Thrill on the inner corner. I'm actually gonna use my finger for most of this, but I started out with that, but my finger actually turned out to be the better choice. Oh, I don't know if you can appreciate that. I don't know if it's translating, but there is so much sparkle and dimension to that. It's so beautiful. And I'm gonna pull that down. I'm gonna pull that down onto the lower inner corner. Highlight that area also. And I think I sweep that all the way because I just wanted that sparkle everywhere. Couldn't get enough. And I'm going to deepen that again, just darkening that up a little bit. A little more depth down there. And now we're going to go into the Waterline. So I use this tiny Stila brush. And I use my Duraline and the Makeup Forever Aqua Black Waterproof Shadow. And I am, you dry your waterline first. Take your fingers and dry your waterline first. And honestly, everybody, there is no reason that not every single makeup lover should not have, there's no reason that anyone shouldn't have this Inglot Duraline in their vanity and or their kit, because it just, you really can get any level of creaminess with it. And this, for me, this is an old product, the black shadow, and sometimes it tends to dry up a little bit, even though we kept the cap and everything, over time, these products can dry up. So I put a little bit of Duraline, I put it on the brush first, and then I mix it into the black, and I can get this beautiful creamy texture. And this is a hardcore black waterline. I see a lot of people in there, they just put a black eyeliner, and generally that's fine, But I really want this to stay all day, so I always get kind of crazy with my waterline. And here I'm using my liner brush. This is the brush that I'm going to use with the matte Chromaline, my most favorite black gel liner. And I do use Inglot with it too, although it doesn't necessarily need it. The Inglot just makes everything a little creamier, a little easier to use. And you can see that right there. Look how easy that is. And I'm just going to extend that out a little bit. You can also extend that wing up. I extend it out, but if you extend it up a little bit, you can actually lift the eye. I'll have to show that in another video. But the effect of the Duraline, the effect of the Inglot on the Duraline was really great. That just goes on so beautifully. And now we're going to smudge. So we're going to use this Confidential small smudger brush, and I'm going in with, who knew, Aspiration. I could have used the black, but I really, I was so into this brown, I was loving it. And so I'm just using this above, not on top of, but I'm trying to stay above that black line because I really want to keep that really dark black lash line. And I'm just smudging that out and giving that a softer look, just so there's no harsh. And then I use it on the bottom too, so it's actually vertical. The brush is vertical there. And I'm just blending out that Makeup Forever a little bit down there, that black. Yep, just softening that up there. And I'm using the tissue paper for no fallout because the last thing you want is to get black dots all over your beautiful concealer and makeup. And I love how the brown smudges that. And we're just gonna smudge that on the bottom lash line. And now it's time for lashes. So I'm gonna use Voluminous. I don't know what for some reason I think my camera must have shut off because I always do 2 coats, but we only captured 1. So we're gonna go with that. And we're gonna start with Donatella by Pat McGrath on the lips, which is a really lovely creamy shade. But I wanted something a little more flesh colored. I wanted something a little lighter. And I don't believe I used MAC Myth, but MAC Myth or Flesh Powder, you can even use concealer for this. You can literally just take some concealer, and I wanted to lighten this a little bit. And I think that completes the look a lot nicer. So we're gonna use Matte Cork. This is gonna be my liner. You can even use eyeliner. For a long time, and I actually still do use eyeliner sometimes to line my lips because I always love a brown liner. And I'm gonna soften that, just smudge that with the Wet n Wild. Just so it's not so stark. And that is it. That is the look. I think it came out beautiful. I love that, babies. It's an absolutely beautiful shade. And with that thrill in the inner corner. And the great thing about this look is that you don't necessarily need this palette. You can use your own browns. You can use similar shades and get a very similar look. So if you post this, you recreate this, please tag me in the hashtag RGRPinspo. And I hope you enjoyed this. Give me a thumbs up and subscribe for more videos. And thank you so much for hanging out with me. I'll see you soon. Bye.